Welcome Pokefans to my top 10 Pokemon fan games that I've played this year. Obviously this list is my opinion and other people might not agree with it, but it's each to their own really. All the games will have a link in the description which will take you to the playthrough of that game on my channel, and then the download link for that game will be in the playlist description. So jumping straight in with number 10. We have Pokemon The New Order, which is currently not finished and it's in version 3 beta. It's a game where you join an evil organisation called Team Cypher and you do jobs ranging from attacking a policeman to breaking into a gym. The game doesn't have gym badges, but instead you get promoted within the organisation. It does take a while to get going and the start can be a bit of a grind, but once the story really starts going, it's quite an interesting playthrough, and I can't wait to see what else is to come for this game. So in number 9 we have another fan game that's not finished, which is Crimson and Cobalt. I think it's just one act at the moment, but it's apparently got 15 plus hours of content with 4 out of the 8 gyms available, and the game revolves around trying to become the strongest trainer in a new region called Ibarra, which means becoming the champion basically. But there's also a secret cult called the Crimson Society who ravaged the region 5 years ago, and without spoiling it too much, there's a history between yourself and this secret cult. One of the things I liked about the game was the interaction that you have with certain characters who follow you around, as well as the nice look that the overworld has. So yeah, this is another game which I'll definitely be playing once it's fully released. In 8th place we've got Tales of the Outskirts Stand, which was a game made for the Reddit Castle Game Jam, which is where a developer or team of developers have 1 month to make a game from scratch, and I still find it amazing that people can actually do that and produce such good games. So the game itself starts off with your character having an accident on their bike and being looked after by the owner of the Outskirts Stand, and obviously to pay them back you help out around the place. It's a sort of sequel to the Pokemon Colosseum games and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, and it has some familiar faces such as Mirror B and Team Cypher, as well as being all double battles like those games too. It also includes some new Shadow Pokemon and the Snag Machine, which you use to catch other trainers' Shadow Pokemon. You can then look to purify them to level them up. Overall, it was just a fun game to play along to, and it wasn't necessarily a hard game. Next up we have Pokemon Myth, which is the first completed fan game on the list, and a few people will be surprised that this is so low down, as a lot of people enjoyed this game, and I can see why, with a lot of new regional form Pokemon as well as some good looking Fakemon and new Mega forms. The game's got its own gimmick, which is infusion, where a Pokemon's DNA is infused with a specific type DNA, which then gives that Pokemon a 1.25 times boost to moves for that type, which I think is pretty cool. This phenomenon's researched by a team called Team Rose and Infusion Inc., who you of course help, but the game also has 2 evil organisations in the shape of Team Corrupt and Team Astra. One of my favourite features was the fact that they made an evolution for every single type, including a new type called the Sound type. My personal favourite would be the Ghost type Spectrum, which I used during my playthrough, and I'm pretty sure the developers are working on some more post-game content and potentially a Myth 2 in the future, so that's something to keep an eye out for. In the 6th spot is a fan game from the Spanish community, and thanks to another PokeTuber called Ryzen who translated it to English, we then got the chance to play Pokemon Anil or Indigo when translated to English. And it's a game where you replay through Kanto, but you can use either red, blue, yellow or green as your character. And it's not just another game where you replay through Kanto like a lot of the games do, but instead the developer added more to the story, including a battle against Giovanni and Armored Mewtwo, as well as a new Team Rocket member who's also a gym leader. Honestly, if ever I want to replay Kanto, then this game will be the way I do it. It even has Pokemon from the latest game, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which now isn't a big thing, but at the time I think it was one of the first games to actually feature it. In 5th place we've got another completed fan game, which is called Pokemon Eon Guardians, which is based on the Terra region where Latios and Latias look after and protect, but they need your help to stop a mysterious team called Team Gaia, who've got their own views in terms of evolution and natural selection. I like this game due to its pleasing aesthetics, and it's got a quite good story. It's got a lot of side quests to keep you busy as well as a challenging post game. But there were some minor issues around the game lagging at certain points, but if you want a game to just play in a chilled vibe where you can just sit back and play it, then this game will suit you. In 4th place we have Pokemon Kaishu, which is another completed fan game, and it takes inspiration from a fan game called Pokemon Bushido. The game centres around clans in a Japanese themed region and the race to become the new Lord of the Elder once the current one passes away. This obviously entails battling all the clans as well as encountering legendary Pokemon. The game's kind of open world in regards to there's no set way to play it at certain parts of the game. There's also level scaling as well as all Pokemon, including Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. It's the first game I've seen where you can terrestrialise like in Scarlet and Violet 2, but it also features Gigantamax and Mega Evolution. A quick heads up though, that if you struggle to strategise battles, then you'll struggle with this game, as it gets incredibly hard with battles where the enemy trainer gets stat boost or the legendary Pokemon get like massive stat boosts and like evasions and all sorts. But overall I did actually enjoy it. Okay, so we're into the top 3 now, and starting off in 3rd place we got a Pokemon fan game called Floral Tempest EX, which is a bit of a darker fan game like your Pokemon Reborn and Rejuvenation, but I personally really enjoyed this fan game. You can play on different difficulties and it can be quite hard with some incredibly tough battles. I mean, I remember at one part where you fight somebody like 4 or 5 times in a row without healing, and if you wipe you have to start it all again. The game's got some custom megas such as Mega Zorok and Mega Hydreigon, to name a few, but the big thing that I enjoyed so much about this game was the story, and wow was it good. There was a sort of twist in the story and it really shocked me, but I don't want to spoil it in case any of you play it. The game's quite a long one, but it's nowhere near Reborn's length, and I highly recommend people to play it. So in 2nd place this year I've played quite a few Spanish fan games, and the one that tops the pile is Pokemon Opalo. I mean, it's another fan game that got translated by Raisin and is made by the same developer as Pokemon Anil or Indigo, which featured earlier in the list. This game in my eyes is absolutely stunning, and it starts with the Pokemon League being closed due to an explosion from like a sort of terrorist person. It features regional form Pokemon, some cool Fakemon and an incredible story, and it's got plenty of twists and turns along the way. It's been a while since I've played it, but I remember being so engrossed in the story and in a particular character in the game as well. The game's really easy on the eye and it's not a difficult game to play, so you can just go along at your own pace. It's got a bit of a dark tone to the game with some of the things that happen, but honestly this game has to be in everyone's list of fan games to play, and it's a definite showcase of the great fan games being made in the Spanish community. So here we are at the top spot, and this one for me was a no-brainer, and it's Pokemon Vanguard. Now this game is just incredible. The story is incredible and it really engrosses you into it. Add to that all the regional forms in the game and you have exactly what I look for in a Pokemon fan game. The game's nowhere near being finished, but there is still a lot of content to get through. The game's set in the Avery region where you have to have a license to be a Pokemon trainer, and you're expected to protect the lives of both innocent people and Pokemon across the world. Obviously this leads to the bad guys, who are the renegades, and they oppose these ideas and laws. To top it all off, you yourself wake up in the region with no memories or Pokemon, just a name. So you end up joining the Vanguard Academy, which is a school with the sole purpose to train the next generation of Pokemon trainers. Honestly, if you haven't played this game yet, then you really need to, and I promise you that you won't be disappointed. So that's the end of my top 10 fan games for this year, and hopefully you've enjoyed seeing these games. If you agree or disagree, then let me know in the comment section, as it's good to see other people's opinions too. Lastly, I just want to say thank you for the support from everybody who has watched my videos this year, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.